Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to our monthly webinar for 2025. And this year, we are focusing on shedding the weight. We want to achieve personal growth by shedding what no longer serves us. Last month, we talked about the weight that we hold. And the weight that we hold is really those things that we most oftentimes don't even notice that we're holding on to. Like, you can tell when you're holding on to like physical weight, but a lot of times it's the mental weight, the emotional weight, the weight due to trauma that really tends to wear us down. So, we are going to jump into our agenda for today. Our goal is really focused around 5 areas. Number one, we want you to have a clear understanding of what is meant by mindset. There are 2 types of mindsets that we're going to be covering today. One is the growth mindset, the other is the fixed mindset. Number 2, we want you to gain some practical strategies that you can use as you're shedding your own weight, whatever that weight may be. Number 3, we want to help you with some tools to overcome what are known as limiting beliefs, and we'll get into those tonight. Number 4, we're going to redefine success to align with whatever goals you've set for yourself. You ever had something that you knew in your heart and your spirit that you were supposed to be doing, and somehow you look up and it's 5 years, it's 10 years, and you haven't even got started? We're going to talk about today how you can shift that perspective. And then lastly, we'll end with some personal actions that I recommend that you take. But also, we are going to talk about how you sustain a growth mindset for the long haul. Now, let me just be honest. As a person who thrives after growth, I can be honest and say, I don't have a growth mindset 365 days a year, right? There are some times that I've literally just allowed myself to be held back. Our mindset is literally shaped by life, what you experience. And so, as I stated last month, it's very important for me to be honest and vulnerable with you. And so, I want to share with you some specific points in life where mindset was huge. So, first, I want to go back to way back when I was in kindergarten. And that first picture that you're seeing, that of course is me saying forehead, right? So, as a child in kindergarten, one day my father forgot to pick me up. And just like a young, independent, strong minded girl should do, I decided to walk home. Now, I realized that this was my first encounter of walking without fear, walking with courage. And that experience gave me the ability to trust myself. When I look at this young girl in the picture, she was full of energy. And I recall her father taking her to the public library to read. And I realized years ago that reading was something that was a passion of mine early on in life, but honestly, life got in the way and I got off track, but I got back on because I know that there is power in reading. So now that second picture that you see, this is me working at McDonald's. I was a manager. So, yes, that's me in the blue and I would say white with the black pants. And being a manager at McDonald's, 16 years of age, really forced me to step up and make decisions on the next level and really solidified for me that I was a leader, that I am a leader. Now, this third picture, notice that there's a little baby in the picture. Still me, same forehead. And this is from the 90s, right? So this is a 90s hairstyle. And during the time that this picture was taken, I faced one of my darkest moments in life, a suicide attempt. It was a time in my life where I lost sight of who I was. I lost sight of my ability to be strong and lead. And I didn't know where to go for help because everybody around me, my family members, they always looked so strong and always acted like all was well when honestly, all wasn't well. And one of the things that I reflect on now as an adult is that grown-ups have a way of hiding things from kids. And so kids grow up thinking, oh, money goes on trees, all is well. And during that time, as I look back on it now, this was 30 years ago, I realized that A, it's okay to not be okay. But I also realized that there was help available and I just needed to reach out. So through those three portions of my life, I realized that mindset isn't just about being successful. It's about survival. It's about hope. It's about transformation. And so here we are today. That's me on the end. I realize that as the growth motivator, I am in alignment with my purpose in life. And every challenge, every setback, every breakthrough has led me to where I am today. And I'm going to help you navigate your journey. So, if you were here last month, you know that I like to use motivational quotes. I remember as a young person um, getting quotes from my aunt, Phyllis, and not really understanding them. But here now, in my 50s, I'm very clear on how valuable they are. So, in thinking about this quote, I want you to think about Simone Biles. She is a gymnast, right? Now, she didn't just wake up one day and said, I'm going to win a gold medal, right? She trained tirelessly. She had setbacks. She got back up and was able to push herself beyond what many people thought was impossible. Why is that? She believed in her own potential. She believed in her own potential. So this quote is a reminder that our growth is only limited by our mindset. So I want to spend some time talking about mindset, and I want to give you this disclaimer. During today's presentation, I'm going to have lots of books, pictures of books throughout, because you know what I realized about probably about 10 years ago? I've been in healthcare since 1992, and I prided myself on staying in tune to healthcare, all the different regulatory challenges. But you know what I ultimately realized? I was growing, progressing in healthcare, but I wasn't progressing in life. And what I realized is that in order for me to go further, I had to go back to one of my first loves, which was reading. So your mindset is literally the lens through which you view the world. Your mindset literally shapes your beliefs, your actions, and ultimately determines how successful you're going to be. At its core, mindset is that internal thermostat that dictates whether you see challenges as obstacles or opportunities. Ooh, let me say that again. Whether you see challenges as obstacles or opportunities, whether you embrace growth or you resist change. Now, in healthcare, we got change coming and going. And a lot of times it could be overwhelming. We fight change. And this is the reality. Whether you go along with the change or not, it is going to happen. So you either get on board or you keep it moving and do something else. So there is this researcher named Dr. Carol Dweck who wrote a book on mindset. And the book on mindset was literally about it was about motivation and personal development, right? And so she actually introduced the concept of a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And in her book, she really highlighted that our thinking has a profound impact on our ability to learn and evolve. So, in English, like, what does that mean? So, fix versus growth. So, fixed mindset is like, I am who I am. I can't change. I was born this way. And so, no matter what I do, I can't grow. I can't accumulate any more skills, talents, and abilities. And people who have a fixed mindset, they tend to avoid challenges, fear failure, and they focus on like proving themselves rather than improving themselves. Ooh, let me say that again. People with a fixed mindset tend to avoid challenges. They focus on proving themselves instead of improving themselves. I got to take a tea break on that one. But a growth mindset believes that intelligence and abilities can be cultivated through effort, learning, and persistence. Effort, learning, and persistence. So very important. Those that have a growth mindset, they understand that failure isn't a stop sign. Failure isn't a stop sign. Let's keep on going. So I remember having a friend who wanted to run a marathon, and she was overwhelmed by the fact that a marathon, I was saying a webinar, a marathon is 26 miles. So one of the things that I said to her, and she was a runner, right? I'm not a runner. I said, why don't you focus on just running? Just running, right? And before she knew it, she built up the stamina to complete the race, the marathon. What was the key? Small, consistent efforts. Small, consistent efforts. So I want to talk now about, of course, another book, but I also want to introduce the concept of limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs literally hold us back from reaching whatever goal we set for yourself. Think back. Think back on a time where you doubted yourself. Maybe you thought you weren't good enough. You weren't capable of doing whatever it is that you really wanted to do. These thoughts that we hold in our minds come from our past experiences, fears, or something that's external in our lives. But let's just be honest. Limiting beliefs can also be based on the beliefs of others who you allow to hold you back because their beliefs are transferred onto you. So let me give you a tip. One way of breaking free is by reframing your beliefs. Instead of saying, I can't do this, flip it. I haven't mastered this yet, but I'm going to continue on until I get to my goal. Reframing that thought literally turns obstacles into growth opportunities. So there's a picture of a book, and I said that I've learned that reading is what allows me to continue to be relevant as a healthcare professional because I am seeking knowledge and wisdom and guidance and understanding outside of healthcare. And so there was this book called Rejection Proof. And in this book, this author, Jia Jiang, shares his personal journey of overcoming the fear of rejection by actively seeking rejection. No lie, you literally have to read this book to see it. He is actively seeking rejection so that he could realize that rejection is not as scary as it seems. And you have to get used to the no's so that you can appreciate the yes. By learning to embrace rejection, we can truly break free from that voice in our head. And I'm actually going to talk about that in a minute, that voice in our head. When we face a fear of failure, we miss out on growth. That was good. When we fear failure, we miss out on growth. Failure is not a dead end. We all aren't successful at something. But if you think about, oh, I'm thinking about these lights around me. Thomas Edison, light bulb guy, he failed so many times, but he knew that there was a way for us to have light. He kept trying. I don't know about you, but I'm glad that we have light. So each failure is a lesson, not a limitation. Each failure is a lesson, not a limitation. So now we've been talking about mindset, right? So our topic for this month is mindset matters. And so resilience, a resilient mindset is that ability to bounce back from difficulties. And let me just be clear. It's not about avoiding challenges, right? It's learning how to navigate them with confidence. You're always going to experience challenges. It's life, right? Life, nobody said life was going to be easy. But a really helpful approach that I've learned to do is to give myself some grace, to have some self-compassion, to not be so hard on myself, right? And when I'm faced with adversity, I ask myself, what did you learn from this experience? Every setback is an opportunity for growth. You just have to be willing to grow. So the next book that I want to introduce, and this is actually a relatively new book. In fact, it was on back order for a while. And this book is called The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. This concept that's presented in this book encourages us. Now, watch this. It encourages us to release control over how everybody else perceives us, or how everybody else reacts to what you do. If you allow people to be them and you be you, you are free to move about the world. We always want to, compare ourselves to others. We want to say, well, if they're not doing it, I guess I can't do it. Or they said I couldn't do it. So, or they said, they said they tried the same thing and they weren't successful. And one of the things that I try to be mindful of when I give someone some advice on, and they come to me first, let me just say that, on something that I've done, but I wasn't successful, I lay out everything that I did and don't hold back on the process, because maybe it didn't work for me. And I had some lessons learned from my own approach, but I want to give them the whole picture instead of just saying, oh, I tried it and it didn't work. That's not enough. You need to tell them what you actually tried. All right. So Henry Ford reminds us that failure is not the end. It's a chance to refine, retool your approach. When something doesn't work, it literally provides you with insight on how to improve. How? You know it doesn't work, so don't try that again. Try something else. Small wins for big impact. Progress happens in small steps. Oftentimes, we get discouraged because we have this, and I have this too, go big or go home mindset. But sometimes people get discouraged because they focus on the final outcome as opposed to tiny habits. They don't focus on one little step at a time. So there's this book called Atomic Habits by James Clear, and he talks about how small habits, when they're done consistently, leads to results. Small habits, when done consistently, leads to remarkable results. So I remember one time I have this Peloton bike, right? And I said, ride the bike just 5 minutes a day. Because in my mind, I'm like, I'm paying money for this bike, right? So just ride it 5 minutes per day. And what wound up happening was 5 minutes became 10 minutes, 10 minutes became 15 minutes, 15 minutes became 20 minutes, 20 minutes became 25 minutes. But it was that small thing done consistently led to me being more resilient, led to me um, enjoying the ride. In his book, Mr. James Clear, he says that when you make these small, tiny habits, just 1% a day, that's 365% gain at the end of the year. But one of the takeaways from the book is literally that success is not about big goals, it's about those small, small habits. What we believe about ourselves shapes our future. If we believe that we're capable of growth and success, we will put in the work, the action to make it happen. Now, mindset. So I talked about a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, right? But mindsets do not shift overnight. First, you have to be self aware and you have to do the small habits with intention. But first, you got to just put it all on the table. So last month, we talked about the weight we hold, right? So you have to begin by identifying those limiting beliefs that you have and replacing them with empowering thoughts. You also may have to get you a new crew. You know why? Sometimes you are around people who they don't mean you any harm, but they're just negative people, right? So your environment matters because you need to be around people who will influence, who will encourage you to grow. Sometimes I'm around people who, before you can even get the words out of your mouth, they are literally saying, nope, that's not going to work. So I also read a book by Keion Henderson, which is titled The Shift. And in this book, he talks about the pivot when life presents obstacles. He talks about how personal transformation requires faith, action, and the willingness to be uncomfortable. If you were on last month, and if you weren't on, you can watch the recording on the YouTube channel. But I talked about me getting to a point of becoming comfortable being uncomfortable. It's a scary place to be uncomfortable. But a shift happens when you realize something I said earlier? Obstacles are not stop signs. What happens when you're driving a car and you get to a stop sign? You stop, you look to the left, you look to the right. Me, sometimes I look to the left and right again. That's because I drive like granny, but nonetheless. And then I look ahead and I proceed, right? So a stop is just the signal directing you towards your growth and your purpose. Every major breakthrough starts with a shift in your mindset. If you believe that change is possible, you'll start making different choices that lead to success. And we are almost done with tonight's webinar, but I got to talk about two more things. Number one, self-talk. The way we talk to ourselves shapes our reality. Negative self-talk sabotages your progress. Let me say that again. Negative self-talk sabotages your progress. Instead, flip that thing around with a positive affirmation. Positive affirmations can reinforce a growth mindset. One simple habit that I believe in, just start each day with a positive affirmation. Tell yourself, I am capable of growth and success. I am capable of growth and success. I am capable of growth and success. Now, you probably are wondering, why did she repeat that 3 times? It's those small, tiny habits. If you wake up and say that to yourself every day of the year, every day, 365 days, you are going to start to feel it in your mind, in your heart, that you are capable of growth and success. And of course, there's a book about this. Ethan Kross wrote a book called Chatter. These are the voices that you hear in your head. And the voices that you hear in your head could be your greatest enemy or your greatest asset. Your greatest enemy or your greatest asset. In the book, he explains how to manage negative self-talk and flip it into a tool for motivation instead of destroying yourself. One concept that's in the book is about where we talk to ourselves as if we're advising someone else. This helps you gain perspective and reduces some of that emotional overwhelm. The only thing standing between you and success is how you think about your potential. Woo! Let me say that again. The only thing standing between you and success is how you think about yourself and your potential. And the last book that I have to introduce is The Long Game. A growth mindset isn't a one-time shift. It is literally a lifetime journey. Developing those habits that sustain this mindset ensures long-term success. But let me just tell you, you can't get the reward unless you put in the work. So my last book is by Dorie Clark, and it is titled subsequently The Long Game. And this book focuses on strategic thinking for sustained success. I get tongue-tied saying that. Strategic thinking for sustained success. In this book, Dorie Clark explains that achieving long-term success requires patience, consistency, and effort. Patience, consistency, and effort. And if you haven't figured it out by now, it's not about quick wins, but positioning yourself for future opportunity. One of the things that I personally realized was that what I am experiencing today is a result of my daily commitment to personal growth. A single action won't change your life, but a daily commitment to growth will. Now, this is the time where I want you to do some work, and I want you to do some work by crafting your own personal action statement. And there's 3 things I want you to do, and then I'm going to explain them. Letting go, embracing, and action. Letting go, embracing, or action. Ask yourself, what are you going to let go of? What small habit will you embrace? And then, how are you going to do it? And most importantly, who is going to hold you accountable? So that's your homework for this month, creating your own personal action statement. And notice I said something small, right? So we just wrapped up webinar 2 of 12 in our 12-month challenge to shed the weight that is holding us back so that we can achieve personal growth. It's about you, not everybody else, right? So next month, we are going to take what we've learned from January and February, and we're going to enter what is known as the non-weight bearing status. So if you haven't noticed, all of our webinars are on the 7th of each month, and that was by design. Number 1, it helps you remember what you're doing on the 7th of each month. But the number 7 actually has some significance. It has some really deep significance for me. That little girl that you saw on the picture, when I told you about my personal connection to mindset. That's my daughter, Jasmine, who's 33 now. And it took her 7 years to walk, even when they said she wasn't going to be able to do so. So these webinars are designed to just help you go through your own personal journey. In 2025, we have so many distractions, and I've made up in my mind that I will not be distracted. I will continue on the path that I've been working on for years. All right. If you have questions, don't forget our website, our email. And I want to thank you all for being a part of this session. I appreciate your time. And just remember, mindset is the foundation for success. What you believe will shape what you achieve. What you believe will shape what you achieve. Well, I will see you all next month.